Good morning. I'm Pete Najarian. This is The Take on this Monday morning, and you go through the weekend. Wow, what a yo-yo week we had last week. And specifically, when I look at Friday, you started off the market, was trading over 35,000 on the Dow. Well, we haven't seen that for a little bit because that was just a moment in time, and then we started to pull back. And actually, we pulled back throughout the rest of the day, and that sell-off actually produced a down nearly 300 points, 299 points. We closed on the lows of the day. You look over at the NASDAQ, it was somewhat similar, although it's just started earlier and started to push to the downside. It finished down the day about 115 points. So both those major indices getting hammered to the downside. We had that volatility index with those hammering we were seeing there. Volatility index actually spiked up towards 18.5. That's an interesting level, up about 8.5%. And so it's interesting because we continue to see this volatility. When we spike through 20, which we'll get to that in a minute, but when we spike through 20, is it going to hold, or are we just going to hit it and then bounce right up back into the lower 15, 16, 17s once again, like we've done so many times in the past? So we've got crude oil today on Friday was right around 71. It was still not great, and it's off the highs, but kind of holding in that area. And you look at the 10-year, it's been sliding. It was underneath 1.3, so that's another one. It was the reopen trade that was getting slammed as well. When you look over at Carnival Cruise, you look at Norwegian Cruise Line, and I talked about energy, we talked about oil. Take a look at some of those beta names. Yes, they do work like we talked about. They work to the upside. They also work to the downside with that beta. Oxy, you take a look at that name last weekend. You look at Diamondback, you look at Pioneer, all of those names getting absolutely hammered. You look over at the semiconductors, they were down about 2%. NVIDIA, Applied Materials, KLAC 10 Core, Microchip, all those names definitely contributing to what you see when you see the SMH down about 2%. Energy was down nearly 3%. Materials were down. Financials were down. Across the board, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, take your pick, you were getting hammered. Apple hit 150, and before you know it, it was starting to pull back. It's even pulling back a little bit more today. Amazon was down nearly 100 points on Friday. So you get the idea that it was a day where we saw a lot of selling, a lot of pressure. There was nervousness, not really, but a little bit as we watched that volatility index spike. You want to talk about a volatility index spiking? How about today? We started off the day 21s, 22s. We've actually gotten up into the 23s already in terms of that VIX itself, up nearly 27 or over 27% to the upside. Then you start to look over at, okay, well, where are we seeing the most pressure? Well, Dow down 500, that seems like a lot of pressure. You also had the NASDAQ down about 140 points. We also had the S&P down about 50 points. So everything contributing to this push. Before you know it, as we get early into the day, we're still down around 500 points. Then the first half hour, down about 700 points. Last I looked, we were down close to 800 points near that 9:30 mark, at least Central Time here. We also down about 230 points on the NASDAQ, getting hammered, 83 points on the S&P. So it is just across the board selling, and almost everywhere you look. Now, obviously, there are individual names. There's a couple of utilities finding themselves, but energy was down 2.5%. Last I looked, it was down 4%. Materials were down nearly 2%. They were down 2.3%. You get the idea. Industrials, financials, technology. Technology was down about 1.25%. Last I looked, it was pushing towards that 2% level, down about 1.7%. So again, it's the reopen trade that's getting hammered on top of everything else. So you look at Carnival Cruise, you look at Norwegian. Again, they're getting beaten up. You look at hotels, Marriott leading the way. That one was getting beat up. It was, last I looked, over 3% to the downside. Boeing within the industrials and obviously within the Dow itself, down 3.3%. So that one was leading the Dow to the downside. So really just a lot of selling pressure. By the way, one thing I forgot to mention for Friday, how about that volume? We've been talking about it, and I'll tell you what, 45 million contracts is an incredible amount of volume. We've been building closer and closer to that level. We did have that fall back for a moment or two, and that was literally just 1 or 2 days into the low 30 million category. Then we bounced back just close to 40 million, got over 40 million, 45 million contracts trading on Friday. So a very, very busy day, especially considering beautiful weather in a lot of different areas, a lot of people wanting to get away for the weekend and all the rest of that. People seem to want to stay in front of their computers this past week because on Friday with that kind of volume, people were there from bell to bell. Absolutely. I got two unusuals, and then I got to get out of here. I got a radio that I've got to hit in a little bit. Also, I'm going to be on the halftime report as well. We'll have unusual there also. So ARK Innovation ETF, that's the first one we're going to hit. ARKK. Now this one's interesting because it's already gotten a little bit of a hit, but how about this roll to the downside? And in both cases today, I'm going to be highlighting that, where somebody already, they didn't just buy recently today or anything like that. In the past, they had bought, in this particular name, the July 30th expiring, the 114 puts. Well, today, they're getting rid of those. They own them. They're now selling those, 6,500 of those, but actually want to stay into the trade and expect to see the ARK Innovation go a little bit further to the downside. They're actually buying 6,500 of the July 30th expiring 105 puts. All of those bought for $1. So it just shows you can roll to the upside. You can also roll to the downside. We're also seeing the same type of trade in Micron Technology today. Stock was trading right around 73.50. And we had a seller of those already owned 73 puts that are July 30th expiring. Well, they were selling those. They were also, in this particular case, also 6,500. And they were rolling down to the 70 puts of July 30th expiration. So take a look at those. Those were going for about 76 cents. And these rolls just tell you that somebody was looking for a drop. Now they're expecting an even further drop in both of these two different categories. So this isn't just buying puts today, feeling the panic of the moment. This is actual, very intelligent and rolling, follow the smart money like we talk about all the time. That's exactly what we're seeing trading in these two trades. Folks, have a great day of trading. Get educated if you don't understand the derivatives markets. 45 million contracts. How would you not want to be a part of that world? That's the world that we're in. We're Market Rebellion. Folks, have a great day of trading, and I'll see you tomorrow.